Welcome to Asia in the Limelight, a new chapter in a series of online events called From Home Export Days, organized by Le Bureau Export, the French music export office. My name is Benjamin Demelemester, and together with my colleagues, we've created From Home Export Days. We've been hosting panels, networking sessions, showcases, and more to keep connecting our members with international professionals and to keep international professionals up to date with what's going on in France. The first chapter of this series was named Escape from Home, as it took place on the same dates as the Great Escape Festival in the UK. And the panel we organized during Escape from Home, Building a New Normal, is now available to watch online, and you can find a link on our website. For this new chapter focused on Asia, we've built two panels with the help of French Embassy in Singapore, l'Institut Français in Japan, as well as our moderators. The first panel, called Connecting, Pitching, and Storytelling for Your Projects, will start right now and is moderated by Piyapong Muenprasertdee, as known as Pi, who is co-founder of the streaming platform Fungjai and the Bangkok Music City event in Thailand. The second panel, called Distribution, Platforms, Marketing, and Finding an Audience for Your Project, will take place tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Central European Summertime, like now, and it will be moderated by Priya Dewan, Asia Director of The Orchard and founder of Gig Life Pro in Singapore. So you're most welcome to check out tomorrow's panel too, and to register for it through our website. But for now, I'm delighted to give the floor to Pi for today's panel. Thank you very much for joining us. Take it away, Pi.
Hello, everybody. My actual name is pretty long and difficult to pronounce, so just please call me Pi, like apple pie. I was born in Thailand, but I grew up in a few countries. I lived in Indonesia, then moved to Singapore, then back to Thailand, lived in China for a year, Japan for a year, and the States for a total of 4.5 years. My educational background is actually in engineering, and I also did an MBA, but my passion is in music, and especially in the DIY indie music scene. I used to be an indie musician, and I saw that there's unsustainability in the scene, and I want to improve it, especially because my working background, I used to be a sustainability and climate change consultant. So I'm one of the co-founders of Bangkok Music City, Thailand's first music conference and showcase festival, which I hope to help elevate the Thailand music scene and also the Southeast Asian music scene. Now, I would like to introduce the panelists today, and we would have about a minute per person. I would like to ask the panelists to please introduce yourself shortly. What is your name? Where are you from? Where are you now? And what do you currently do and how you got there? Thank you very much. I would like to start with Miss Keli Lee, please.
Hi all, this is Keli. I was born in Singapore, spent some time living and being educated in the music business in both Australia and US. Been in music business since 2007. For the last couple of years, I've been basically based out of the airport, flying all around, operating and working in like a different border almost every other week. But at the turn of this year, I've decided to really shift my base back to Singapore to focus more on the APAC market. So throughout my career across tech, music, entertainment, telco companies, my focus had always been to utilize creative IP to develop new revenue opportunities and to increase product adoption across markets. So I'm currently an independent consultant that provides advisory to music-related apps and businesses looking to penetrate new markets in Asia, while also looking at building a scalable global model to network model for content and creators to encourage incremental adoption of content across markets with a more sustainable monetization model that we can support the industry that we love.
Thank you very much, Keli. Next, I would like Kevin to please introduce yourself.
All right. Hi, guys. My name is Kevin, and I came from Singapore as well, spent most of my life growing up there. I had a short stint in New York, also doing my postgrad on scoring and a little bit of music business at NYU. But pretty much everything I've been doing in the music industry has been based out of Southeast Asia, from the base of Singapore since 1999. Very much like Pi, I started as an indie musician, trying to make the music that we do, trying to say the things that we wanted to say. And I guess even from the late 90s into the early 2000s, always realized there's been a struggle for sustainability for musicians coming out of that area. And over the years, I went from starting a production studio called Beep Studios, which I've since sold. I also had a small label called Umami Records, as well as a artist management company called Foundation Music, of which all I have also liquidated my shares in. But that was really a foundation or a base for what I believe in is my entire educational cycle of understanding the music industry. Actually, it's through that process I've also met Keli while she was still with Universal Music and working closely on a couple of artists together. And then from there, I think over the course of the last couple of years, Sony Music presented itself an opportunity for me to go out from a market that was struggling to support its domestic acts to a very mature market that has been exporting acts for the last 20 to 30 years. So coming out to Taiwan has been both eye-opening, and at the same time, it has given me more and more ideas about how sustainability is really key, and understanding the different markets you are trying to target is very important. So that's where I am right now. I don't think I've come to, it's really not a destination, it's still part of the journey, and I'm really enjoying. I tell everybody that I'm living my dream every single day of my life.
Thank you very much, Kevin. I'd like the next one to be Kaz, please.
Hi, hello everyone. I'm Kaz from Japan. Well, the Rambling Records from Japan. I just our company has been established at 2001, and mainly just releasing a lot of albums as a label, and focusing on more like in foreign albums. And when we just started to sell our CDs, it was the market was quite big for the CDs, you know. So we just started to how to say like cultivate the alternative distribution channel, not just only the record stores, but also like fashion stores, like a cafe or like interior stores or something like that. So we just keep releasing the albums, and also not just only the releasing album, but promoting the albums, artists, inviting the artists, and then so now the CD market is getting, well, unfortunately, shrinking. So we just started the new business, which is like background music, for the stores. So as I mentioned to you, we had the alternative distribution channel. They unfortunately stopped the selling CDs, but instead of that, they started to ask us to, provide the some kind of like a unique and original and exclusive playlist for their stores. So just so we just ended up with starting the new business, background music. So far, we have more than 1,000 stores to supply our playlist. And speaking of French music, we just released recently like Lou Doyen's new album, and also Sebastien Tellier, and releasing all the albums by Caravan Palace or like FKJ or something. So actually, we've been releasing a lot of French albums, and now working, inviting a lot of French artists with the support by French Embassy and French Institute. So now we are trying to how do you say, like promoting the new way to new way to promote the French artists, not just only spreading information through like SNS or something. Using our own distribution channel, like our 1,000 stores to play our music. So I think that's pretty much it.
All right. Thank you very much, Kaz. Last but not least, Bel. Please go ahead.
Hello, everyone. I'm Bel Certeza from Manila, Philippines. I'm the founder of Indie Manila, and also I work for Homonym, the only music agency in the Philippines. Homonym is we do publishing and licensing, and we also work with a lot of big brands here in the Philippines, and we also help out a lot of bands and artists to find ways to earn money through like connecting them with the right brands and the right partners. And also with Indie Manila, I've been in the scene since 2005. I started out as a fan, and in 2010 I started documenting the scene. I film live music, and also I take photos to document them. And also in 2014 I launched Indie Manila, which is the platform, and now it's still going. And I also curate gigs for Indie Manila as well. And my work with Indie Manila has led me to opportunities like me working for Homonym and being road managers for some notable bands in the Philippines. And now I'm also a consultant for Apple Music. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you very much, Bel. Now, I would like to say that I have broken down the questions into two sets, and the next set of questions would be for about 15 to 20 minutes. All right. So I would pose a general question to everybody, and then I would have specific questions to you. So please try to finish your answers between 3 to 4 minutes. Okay. So the general question here is, I would like you to tell us a little bit about your country's music landscape. For example, what are the most popular to the niche's music genres? What is the approximate market share between domestic versus international music? And maybe the market share of labels, the general music consumption behaviors. Now, I would like to start this first question from Keli, because from your profile, your career spans the whole globe. But since we're focusing on Asia, can you give us a big picture of how Asians consume international music, and maybe share with us from your experience which market in Asia is most open to international music?
Okay. So I would usually advise anyone that's not familiar with the Asian market to really look at Asia as an entire region that's very similar to Europe, where we are complying of a lot of different countries, different languages, different cultures. There's really no one strategy for all kind of operation model over here. So that is something that we always speak to the Western market. So the Asian music market as a whole is extremely fragmented because of the number of countries and languages out there, and the language of music that's consumed in the region, in addition to the variety of the maturity of music ecosystem in each of the local market. So to really generalize the entire Asian market, I would use a very general 80-20 kind of split rule and categorize Asia for you guys to understand better. So I would divide all the countries in Asia, or most of the countries in Asia, into three very broad groups. The first group, let's say, it's countries where English is the main mode of communication. Countries like Singapore, Philippines, countries like this usually have 80% of the music content covering with mainly Western pop music, which is usually carried by the major labels from the West. So for Philippines, there might be some changes because a lot of development of local content along the way that Bel can probably emphasize a little bit more later on. But on top of that, Singapore is a country where I would say more than 80% are actually content from the Western market. And do we see that changing? I'm not entirely confident on that, but I would say it's still a majority Western market society. So the second group of countries will be countries where local language is key, and with countries with very strong local jurisdiction or even a more mature music infrastructure. So countries like Japan, Korea, Malaysia, Taiwan, Hong Kong, China and India. So the 80% of the music that's consumed locally are usually local language, whether it's carried by the international majors or the local big majors that we are aware of. And the third group will be countries where local language is also the key, but with more developing music infrastructure and ecosystem. Countries like Thailand, Indonesia, Vietnam, Cambodia, where 80% of the language or music consumed are local language content carried by a whole array of different local labels. So in general, I would say if any Western international music looking to get a foothold into Asia, you'll probably want to consider looking at countries where English is like a commonly spoken language as an initial entry point. So countries like Singapore, Philippines, Malaysia, and Hong Kong may be a consideration for everyone over here.
Thank you very much, Keli. And I can say that I can agree with you. In Thailand, for example, 90% of the music is local, and the big three, the big international three, are only about 10%. Now, I would like to ask, secondly, Bel. The thing is, I kind of know that Filipinos are very musical people, and you have a lot of great talent. Even in Thailand, there's a lot of Filipino musicians working here. Can you share with us how the local music scene is like, and how much international music do Filipinos consume? Hello, Bel. Bel? Everyone? Okay. Okay. I think Bel went offline. So let me move to Kevin for now. Kevin, Mando pop is definitely a huge market. Mando pop meaning pop in the Mandarin language, right? So can you share with us the Western music consumption behavior of people in the Chinese-speaking markets like Taiwan and China?
Right. Well, I think one thing that we have to, a lot of people from outside this region, they don't understand is the fact that whatever happens in China is like in a whole different world altogether. They don't use the same DSPs. They don't use the same social media platforms. There's nothing that happens outside of China that effectively impacts what's happening inside China unless something is done specifically for that market. But Taiwan is different because we access every similar global DSP as well as all the social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. They all are similar, which actually that really fragments the Mandopop market in that sense. If you're looking at the market specifically, so I can speak specifically for Taiwan. For Taiwan, the consumption for domestic material, or Mendo material, right now it's about 60 to 65%, and in consumption of international materials about 35%. Actually, I wanted to add to the point of what Keli brought up. In Singapore, where English is the most commonly spoken language, when she hit the nail on the head by saying that about 80% of consumption in Singapore is actually Western. But one thing that I've come to notice is sometimes when I really look at reports coming up from Singapore, we see that 99% of consumption is non-domestic. So beyond just 80% that's Western, we have nearly 20% of what Singapore consumes is Mando or regional content. So to me, sometimes it's really just just a glimpse into the difficulties that the domestic market of Singapore actually they struggle with. But here in Taiwan, and I believe it's similar for many other, I guess similar to many other homogenous non-English speaking countries, where to be able to consume international music, there's a lot of that. The things around it has to be translated to the local language for the audience to understand it better. So simple things that we work with, like some international material, to push here is like we have to subtitle some of these videos and get specific permission for big international acts to have the exact same music video but subtitled in Mandarin as well, so that they're able to then understand it better and accept it better, and probably also consume it better. So something we actually very recently did was for Ben and Ben from the Philippines, where their music was actually purely in English, but then we had it subtitled in Mandarin, and the impact from there was quite phenomenal for a Filipino act. Yeah, and I think we have lost Pi. Oh no, he's coming back. Hi Pi.
All right. Sorry about that. Actually, it seems like my internet is not working properly, so now I'm on the phone. Have you finished answering the question? I didn't hear anything. Sorry, Kevin.
No worries. I think I answered it.
Okay. All right. So the next question is for Bel, but is Bel still offline? Okay, she seems to be getting back online. Hello, Bel. Is it
Hey
working
guys,
now
sorry
for
about
you?
that. Yeah, I think it's better now. I can see all of you now. Sorry about
Okay.
that.
That's all right because I was cut off too. I just came back.
Okay.
All right. So now I would like to ask you that the thing is, I know that a lot of Filipinos are very musical people, and there's a lot of good talent. There's lots of Filipino musicians working in Thailand, actually. But can you tell us, can you share with us how the local music scene is like and how Filipinos consume like Western music, please?
Okay. Yeah. You're correct with that. That Filipinos are very musical people. A lot of us know how to sing. Well, I don't know how to sing, but I know a lot of people who know us how to sing, and we also have a lot of musicians here. In terms of the music landscape right now, I'm very proud to say that the emergence of original Filipino music is very much felt. I mean, a lot of listeners are very into local music right now. Unlike compared to like 7 years ago, where most of them would really listen to just Western music or people music from abroad. So right now, um, I whenever I do these chart reports, the consume. I mean, the Filipinos consume like half of the artists in the charts are mostly Filipinos. So and right now the very strong genre right now is hip hop. Hip hop is very popular right now here in the Philippines, and yeah, and also a lot of indie bands, independent underground bands are breaking into the pop scene. So there's just one time that it was told that indie is the new pop here in the Philippines. So in terms of international music, we're very much influenced with a lot of the international music that we hear. You can also hear that to the local music, but it's also evident that we're very proud of our language. So a lot of this music, a lot of the bands, a lot of the songs in the charts are also in Filipino. So it's pretty much very active. I mean, it's a thriving scene here in the Philippines, and we owe that to the fans who's really supporting the local music, may it be underground or may it be popular or may it be Western. So we just really love music here in the Philippines. So.
All right. Thank you very much, Bel. Now, I would like to move to Kaz. Kaz, you're from Japan, and Japan is like one of the largest music industries in the world and the number one in Asia. I've heard that the music industry in Japan is so big and so diverse that every genre and every subgenre has a fan base. Is that true? And how about French music? Is there a fan base of French music?
Well, first of all, our market is quite unique because this is really something different because we still have a huge physical market. Well, of course, we already have the digital, music market, downloading and streaming, but still, CD market is just the biggest one. So yeah, so that's why I don't know. It's just a really unique because well, people buy CDs because sometimes some cases that CDs has been treated something like the how to say it, really special novelty or something, and it has some ticket or something, and if once you buy the CD, and you can go and see the real artist and say hi or sometimes shake hands or something. That's why the people are enthusiastic to buy the physical CD still. And that's one of the really unique things in Japanese market. And also, well, as other people in here mentioned, in our market as well, we have the really big local market. I mean, Japanese domestic music market. It has also like a 75% of whole music market in Japan. Japanese local music has that kind of a big share, and the rest is mainly like US or UK hit chart. So actually we have a certain French music market and also fans, but it's rather still small. So because we are not really used to a French language as well, but on the other hand, from the really old days, we loved and adored the French culture, like food and also fashion, and also, of course, in the music and also film as well. So that's why we have a lot of standard French music coming from the cinema, like from the 60s or something. And sometimes we even adapted, like, put some Japanese lyric, cover it, and we just sing that song. Sounds like a real like a Japanese music or something. So we do a lot of things to with the French music, and also not just only the cinema and also food and fashion. Yeah, we feel quite familiar with the French culture. So that's why I think I could tell that we have a certain fans or market for the French music. And so, as I mentioned before, thanks to the support from the embassy or institute, so we can have a lot of opportunities to organize some DJ or like live shows. And French artists, have quite often, come to Japan to perform or play, DJ or something. So that's why that really helps us to keep the maintain the French music market in here.
All right, thank you very much, Kaz. Okay, now I would like to move to the next set of questions. And so this one I would like to provide only 20 minutes in total. So we have some time to discuss amongst ourselves and also allow questions from the audience. So this next general question, I'd like to say that right now touring is impossible due to COVID-19. However, are there any innovative ways that could be successful in penetrating your market if a French artist or label would like to enter your market? And can you tell us how they could penetrate through the media and online platforms in your country? I'd like to start this this section with you, Kaz, because your label currently represents some French artists. Can you tell us how did you build a market for them in Japan, and which channels did you use to advertise them?
All right. Well, as I mentioned, we have the music market, which is like the major one is the Japanese music. So if we just sold our CDs or like the artist albums through just only record stores, well, it's gonna be a disaster because they don't order anything like the French music. So that's why we you know I just mentioned to you before that we just started a new business like background music, and so far we have the more than 1,000 stores. So that's the really big chance to spread or like expand the name of the artist or like the album information. So for instance, okay, we decide to promote a French artist, and then so we pick up one of our clients, which can be suitable and also which can be good at promoting that artist through their stores. So instead of that, so they can also create or like manufacture the some kind of merchandising, like they're putting some front image of the CD, on the T-shirt or something, and they can sell those special or like exclusive merchandising with the, of course, the under the approval from the artist, and they even pay the royalty for that. So they also play the music through our like background music, because we just invented our own app, So they once they install our app, so they can play our our playlist. So in that case, they can play that such artist. They keep playing the music, and so that really helps us to expand the promotion, and not just only spreading the information through our own SNS. Our clients also will expand the information through their own SNS, and also they can also distribute the flyers about the music they are playing so far. So that's really good way to make it happen, like the three-dimensional way to promotion. So yeah, well, so what that really leads us to make it successful, to grab the how to say, like the right targeting fans for the artist, because I know that people who come to the fashion stores or cafe or something, they are really interested in French music, and also French culture. So, and also they are eager to get more new information about the new artists or like something new. And also the brands, also like fashion stores, something they also need some good impression, something like they are also like expanding the music information or like French information or that kind of things. So we all can get happy. And then so once a promoter finds some interest to invite such artists, and then so we even set up the showcase at those stores. So before the live show. So so from that case, so we can also do some small showcase before the real live show at the venue. So we do like spreading the information, releasing the album, and also our own SNS, and also through the our background music system. So that really helps us to promote or develop the French artists so far.
I think we have difficulties of connection with Pi, but maybe you can follow with the same question while we're waiting for Pi. Keli, please.
Sure. So I think extending what Cass mentioned just now, I think the idea of looking at music in a very diverse vertical way, whether it's collaborating with fashion stores or brands or anything like that, it's something that the entire music industry will probably want to look on even more, because what we're seeing is because of COVID-19, live sessions are all canceled. Touring is almost impossible. Who knows when will it be back? Maybe it's 2021, maybe it's 2022. We don't know. So there's a gap here where there are a lot of artists, there's a lot of content, but there's nowhere to really get it out there. So the general trending definitely is moving towards more and more short form content, live streaming to fill up that gap, to get artists to the fans more directly. And most importantly, it's also for music business on a global level to really understand how to make your existing and new audience see your music in a very innovative way. The emphasis here is actually to see your music and not just listen to music, because of how content is consumed in recent years, where our users on a global level are all looking at music, whether it's video or photos or anything like that, to consume music sometimes. So with apps like TikTok, Facebook, Twitch, Google, everyone is really getting on that live stream game on the global level. But in Asia, live stream have been around for quite at least the last 2 to 3 years. And brands like YY, Beagle, Line, V Live, Kitty, M17, they are evolving into more of not just live stream, but incorporating live stream with e-commerce, social commerce based service to really create a more sustainable monetization model for both the content and the platform, which goes back to what Kaz was saying, very similar to collaborating with fashion brands, collaborating with other brands to really have a model that works for everybody. So this is definitely a trend that we're looking on. I think I remember Kevin was doing something on YouTube with his artists from Sony as well to really get music out to online fans, which is an amazing thing that was done in markets and really get music to across the region in a very different way apart from live entertainment. So apart from like traditional music marketing that I'm pretty sure all of us are very familiar with, whether it's the traditional TV, print, and radio, all those kind of things, I would actually suggest everyone to really look at, or any French artists or labels that want to enter Asian market, to really deep dive into live stream, short form content, working with those ambassadors. I remember French market actually used the word ambassadors. Some of us use KOL, key opinion leaders, influencers, video content creators of various verticals, not just focusing on music, but looking at those guys that are in music, fashion, food, fitness, education, culture, anything that you can think of, to have a more cross-collaborative promotion opportunity to get your music to a particular market by riding on the fan base that these guys actually already have in the local market. So giving an example, very recently I was watching, I think it was a video by an English to Asian teacher. I think it was based out of Taiwan. He was actually having a segment on YouTube with one of the Chinese artists who is out there to promote his new album. So it was an English segment that they were competing on a spelling bee, just competing whose English ability is better. But throughout this 10-15 minutes video, there was a lot of album promotion details that was weaved into this entire segment. To me, I think this is an excellent soft sell kind of content that was created to target people who was there for videos related to English language, but who end up knowing some of this new Taiwanese artists' content. So it's definitely a very fresh perspective on how music can be marketed in today's digital world. And it's also a way that French music artists can consider tapping into while thinking of which Asian markets they want to really target. It's Pi back.
Yes, I am back. Sorry about that. I have some equipment problems. Thank you so much for your great answer, Keli. Now, I'd like to move to Kevin now because, well, Kevin, you have actually started from the indie scene and now you're up in the majors. So you should be able to give us, great examples of how, how an artist should be able to, penetrate the media and the markets. So can you share your ideas on how a French artist could penetrate markets in Asia, and what kind of tools should they use?
Well, I think to me, I really echo what Keli just said, which is the fact that there are all these new forms of online-based content or platforms where people are consuming content here in Asia. And a lot of times I know there's this like band that I just found out last year. Was it last year? About a year and a half ago. And how I first encountered this band, the name of the band is called Prep, P-R-E-P. They're like a South London band, right? But of course, at the point of time, I didn't know that. And what was happening to me being based out here in Asia was I was getting their YouTube videos recommended. I jumped on it, and these were YouTube videos that had all these Asian, there's like Asian characters or Asian protagonists. So I was like trying to figure out, are these guys Koreans? It looks a bit like Koreatown in LA. So I couldn't quite figure out. But in my head, I just thought, wow, this is an amazing Asian band, and I thought they were Koreans. And then the second video dropped, and it was once again an all Asian cast and everything. And then along the way, I later on found out, eventually last year at Great Escape, I caught them live, and they are a South London band. And later on, I found out that they don't have too much of a following in South London, or even in the UK or Europe in particular. But because of that very distinct sound of city pop that they do, which is hugely consumed out here in Asia, in Japan, in Korea, the band does pretty well out here in Asia. And similarly, I think if you see a band like Hon, Hone, like even the name of the band is a Japanese word, right? It's like Tatame and Hone. So they are a British band. All their album covers look like they came from Japan with the OB strip and everything. So they were very specific in targeting the Asian market, and it was actually out of like their success in Asia that it went on to continue to do better in other markets as well. Actually, another amazing example, I think many people don't know this, is like Love. Now Love is a global hit right now, but before Love became a global hit, Love was actually charting only in Asia first. So he was hitting. I still remember the very first Spotify chart he charted in was Spotify Malaysia. So he charted there first, and like just how the algorithms kick in nowadays, it became like a trigger to more and more playlists and recommendations recommending his music through. So to me, I think it's really a day and age where things really even out. If you're looking at the world of digital and streaming, especially if your markets also kind of like use the same platforms around. But I know that streaming is still really like kickstarting it in Japan, for example, or like here in Taiwan, or anything that's within China, or if you look at Korea, the biggest digital streaming platforms are not the global ones. They have the biggest streaming platforms are still domestic ones. So a lot of things that's happening, globally doesn't impact what's happening in the local markets here in these Asian countries. So a lot of times I feel personally, it's like you've got to want to do it, right? So first and foremost is I want to be deliberate about breaking this market. And then when you're deliberate about it, then you start kind of strategizing it for that market. I think a lot of Asia is actually quite unlike Japan. I think Japan really has an appreciation for everything French, like what Cass said just now. And to me, even like some of the best French food, or I had it in Japan. Because the quality, the respect for the culture and how they do it out there. And I feel that it's not the same as a lot of other markets here in Asia. And unfortunately, in territories like Taiwan, for example, French music will just be a subcategory under Western music. So to them, it's just like, they don't know that Phoenix is a French act. They don't know Daft Punk is a French act. To them, it's just great Western music. And that's where I think then, really it's a lot more challenges with regards to markets like this. But going to I think in Singapore, there is actually a strong and small French community, for example. And I know that there was a specific promoter, I forget her name. There was a specific promoter that was bringing actually a lot of independent Figure 8 agency. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Figure 8 was bringing a lot of French artists and bands into Singapore, for example. And to me, it's also how these small local promoters work with promoters from the region, so that when a French act comes through, it will not be all that cost just to come to one territory, but how do we bring that act through Southeast Asia, or different parts of Southeast Asia and Japan and Korea. So I don't know if I'm answering the question, but I guess that's what I really feel about, if we're talking very specific about French acts in Asia.
Well, I totally agree with you, Kevin. Like for Thailand, Hone and Prep, they are totally big here. When they first came, the tickets were super cheap, but when they came for the third time, they're like big headliners already. And in the West, nobody knows about them. And then, I think for Figure 8, the ladies who founded Figure 8, they are originally Laos, but they grew up in France, I think. So that's how the French connection was. So I think that I've heard about some people who are closely, in relationship with France, who bring French artists over to Asia. Now, the last question is for Bel. And since we have about 16 minutes left, I'd like you to finish this question, finish answering this, and then we'd like to have a little talk amongst each other and also answer some questions from the audience. So now for Bel, just now Kevin, he's been in the indie biz and now up in a major label. For you, you've been in the indie biz and now you're working in a a consultancy, a music consultancy. Can you give us an idea of how a French artist would break into the Filipino market?
Well, actually, the first thing I thought of when I saw that question is one of the best things to, if you want to really introduce your music here in the Philippines, would be, I think, to research on an artist here in the Philippines that you would like to collaborate with, because some that actually works with some of the bands who's been breaking in the scene here in the Philippines. They're collaborating with some of the bands here. Like recently, I forgot the name of the band, but the band is, I think, from Thailand, and then they collaborated with one of the biggest bands here in the Philippines, which is Ben and Ben. So they had they recorded a collaborative song. Like they collaborated with a song, and then they recorded while on lockdown, and they released it just recently. And yeah, I think that's one. And also I'm also excited to share that there are platforms here in the Philippines who's actually open to feature foreign artists on their platform. Like right now in Manila, I started a page called Discover, where I feature a lot of bands and artists who not only I met on the conferences that I've been attending for the past 3 years, but also some artists who's been sending us like demos. If I think that these artists would be great for the Filipino listeners, I share it with them as well. And yeah, and also there are other platforms like there are different prods who's holding like live stream concerts right now in the Philippines, like us in the Manila, and also there's Red Ninja, and also there's this one bandwidth who's very active right now on the live stream. So you can get in touch with them, and I'm pretty sure that they'd be open to having a French artist to perform on their live streams. So I think those are the things that you can actually do if you want to introduce your music to the Philippine market.
Right. Oh, thank you very much, Bel. Now we have some time dedicated to answering questions and also talking amongst ourselves. But I'd like to say that I see in the comments here that Danny from Figure 8 is also here. I don't know if I got that story right, Danny, so please tell me if I got it right or wrong. Okay, but anyway, I'd like to start with some questions here that I found. So there are two people asking, I guess particularly Kaz, about Japan. So there is Pippa, who is asking that is there anyone in Japan who might want to book like small alternative indie blues type of international artists? And Alexandra was asking about like what types of stores do you work with? Is it fashion only for the music in the stores?
Okay, so the first question was like so they want to know about the promoter. I couldn't hear really correctly. So first question was what? I couldn't
Oh,
get it. So
oh,
yeah,
sorry
because
about that.
it's not really stable. No, I'm sorry. So first question
You,
was that they want to know the promoter.
yes, you can actually read in the live comments box on your right-hand side of the screen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can also see in there.
Right.
So there's a question about like alternative indie blues type of bands. Are there any venues that would book them? It is from Pippa Ryan Kidd at probably in your time is 4:56 p.m. Okay.
Okay.
Let me. Did you hear me, or could you read the question? Can you see it?
Well, I really cannot really hear you so well. It's so unstable. So I'm sorry. So first of all, Okay, so about the promoter, I think that was the question, right? And second question was like, what kind of clients we have for the background music, right? Okay.
Yes.
First one is well, of course, it depends on the music genre, you know. So if the artist is focusing on more like the club music or something, there are also a certain promoter. But we have a lot of occasion to work with Blue Note because they also have their own venue, and also they book the artists by themselves. So we just keep talking or exchanging the information with the Blue Note, and if they found some interest, and then so we just give them the some kind of a contact of the agent or like a manager or something, and then just they we just let them do it, you know. So we work with a lot of occasions with Blue Note, and also sometimes work with Creative Man. They also manage the huge music festival, which is called Summer Sonic. So we sometimes keep ask them to book one or two or a few in the French our own artists, you know. So case by case. So yeah, so that's really in our market. That's really important to keep having the relationship with those promoters. And well, about the second question of the background music, well, most of our clients are like from the fashion stores, mainly like local stores, local brands. And other than that, so we provide our a playlist to the hotels and also furniture stores, like maybe something about the Conran stores or something. And also we recently got the new clients, which is New Balance, sports shoes or something. They also launch their own stores. So they ask us to provide them some exclusive and something really special for their background music. So yeah, but we don't really supply the playlist to, I don't know, something like the fast food, or like, well, I would say like McDonald's or something. So we wouldn't do that. We sometimes should be picky, what kind of stores or what kind of brands we should supply our music, because we are not like the major label. So which means like, so we don't have the rights to give them the music from the majors, So we always how to say, like the make a deal with independent labels, and they once they allow us to use their music for background music, so we just go and play it, because something like the fashion stores, like hotels, they want to have the like more like exclusive or like unique ones, not like major ones. They don't want to have them play like the Madonna or that kind of things. So that's why we keep just sending what we are doing for the background music, and thanks to their collaboration, we now have a lot of tons of labels. They are helping us, for our own background music, because they can see, they also um, you know they also think that it might be help to promote their catalog or like artist.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you very much, Kaz. So there is about like 6.5 minutes left, so we'll probably go for just one and two questions. So there's this question from Elodie. I don't want to pronounce your last name because I might butcher it. Sorry. So you're asking about collaborations between different countries and connecting the different music scenes. The thing is, yes, we do have collaborations, and but I'll allow other people to answer this. Maybe I'll start with Bel. Can you tell us what we're doing here in Southeast Asia?
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, like one example is what Ben and Ben, one of the biggest bands right now in the Philippines, did with a band from Thailand. where they collaborated with a song, and then they released it both their respective countries. So I think it worked for both markets. So yeah, a lot of collaborations is really happening here in Southeast Asia, because aside from, we're very open, but we're very curious as well to learn what the music scene is from other countries. And also we're very excited whenever someone from like the western side of the world would contact or get in touch with us, and then they would be interested to collaborate with the artist here in the Philippines. So yeah, there are, especially now that we're all on lockdown, I think it would be, I guess, easier for people to connect. Like with, for example, a French band would like to collaborate with a specific band here in the Philippines. It would be easier for people to connect, because one, we have a lot of time to actually connect and create, and two, the market is really eager to discover new music here in the Philippines as well. So yeah, a lot of collaborations happening and will be happening soon here in terms of artists here in the Philippines. So yeah, just send them over, and find an artist that you'd like to collaborate here in the Philippines, and you can also get in touch with me if you want to connect to any artist here in the Philippines. I can definitely help you out with that. So it's gonna be exciting. So yeah.
All right, thank you, Bel. And the next thing I was thinking about is about touring. So, for example, Kevin, when you were in Singapore, you welcomed one of the Thai artists that works at my company, right? The Whitest Crow. So there's touring cross borders. So can you tell us a little bit about those things?
Yeah. So I mean, even as Kaz was replying, I realized that it reminded me once again when I was managing a bunch of these Singapore-based artists, and back then we also were trying to figure out ways of getting them to tour. I still remember with this, I want to say, I can't put a genre to them, but the Steve McQueens. So they're like jazz, but neo soul, but modern and funk as well. It's all in one. So the Steve McQueens, I think 3-4 years ago, we used to all sit down and we'll write emails to every live house in Tokyo. So sometimes we will have a list of 150 and 180 live house, and we'll write them emails, and we will get like 2 replies. And then somebody told me that, all I needed to do is take my email, drop it in Google Translate, and translate it to Japanese and send it again. And true enough, we sent it all again, 100 over emails out, and then we got replies from nearly 50% of them. And that's something that I've come to realize that there are always opportunities. I've taken, I think, some of the acts from Singapore as well. We've toured the Philippines. We've done Taiwan before I moved to Taiwan. We've done Japan as well. And I think it is really just kind of getting down to understanding what the band or artist is willing to do. Are they okay to go out there and do 30, 40 stops? And at the end of the whole thing, you might be playing to rooms that are not huge, but it's part and parcel of engaging and promoting and, getting your music out there. And I know one of the other things that I feel has been very key to the Southeast Asian markets in the last few years is also the stuff that like Pi has started, like Bangkok Music City. And like, I know Sonic the Philippines just started last year as well, right? And in Singapore, we have something that's a little bit more established, which is Music Matters. And in Korea, we went for Zandari Indie Fiesta. It's similar to what the Great Escape is, or South by Southwest is, but it's these showcase festivals where you can be from out of town and you can bring your artists there and find out ways to mingle, network, interact with local promoters, managers, live house and venue owners, and just figure out ways where it's not just artist to artist collaboration, but it's also business to business collaboration. And I still think that there is, it's great that it started and there's still room to grow, but that's going to be something that will bring the whole, Asian ecosystem together, where then you will see, artists hopping from one very domestic market to another, and then there are other interactions that come around it. So I'm excited about that as well.
Thank you, Kevin. We have about 1 minute left, so I guess that we don't really have time for questions. But maybe I'd just like to say that if you're interested in coming to the Asian markets, we are starting to have more and more music conferences and showcase festivals One of the biggest ones are Music Matters in Singapore. However, they focus more on the major label side, I would assume. But there's Zandari Festa in South Korea, happens around the end of September, beginning of October. And that's a great place to mingle with delegates from Asia and all over the world. And Bel's company, you do Sonic Philippines. The first year was last year, right? So that's for the Philippines.
Yes.
And for me, I'm doing Bangkok Music City, happening in November this year for the second time. So there are opportunities to see us here in Asia and lots of conferences like this. And I hope that you guys can come over when the lockdown is over, when COVID-19 is over. But anyway, for Bangkok Music City, we're doing a virtual event. So I hope you guys can join that. And Sonic Philippines, are you doing a virtual one?
Yes, we're actually planning the virtual version of Sonic Philippines right now. So if there are any like bands interested to play, just send us an email, and we'll get back to you. Because we're already curating the lineup right now for Sonic Philippines. It's happening on October. October 16 to 18 is the date.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I feel like it's also my responsibility to shout out to Luckfest, which Wei Ning organizes, which happens in Taiwan, right? It's also another showcase festival that welcomes a lot of international acts to Taiwan, so that you can mingle and also interact with a lot of professionals out here from the region as well as in Taiwan.
Okay. Benjamin typed in our private chat that he'd like us to talk about Alexandra's question about featuring and collaboration. But I think Bel already answered that, that Filipino acts are definitely ready to collaborate. And I would add that Thai artists are also very, very keen to do that. So I've been contacted by a few countries that they want to collaborate with Thai artists, and I help connect them. So please, if you're interested, you can also contact me.
Likewise, I think the struggle for a lot of Taiwanese artists sometimes is just the language barrier. So there might be many who are keen, but because if English is not something they're fluent in, or in this case even like French, then that might usually be a stumbling block. And that's something I've been trying to encourage even my current roster to kind of collaborate outside of the Mandopop scene. But that's something that I think we have to see on a case-by-case basis. There are some amazing Taiwanese artists that write and sing in English very well as well. 9M88 Juem Papa is a great example. I know Kumar Chan, that's the English name he goes by, but his Chinese name is Xiongzai. So there are some really interesting artists that I think definitely has potential as well.
All right. Okay. Our hour is over. So thank you very much, everybody, for being at this panel. I enjoyed it so much talking to you guys, and hopefully we can meet up again in real life, in the real world. Now I would like to hand back the stage to Benjamin. Benjamin, please take over. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for your inputs, and see you also tomorrow if you're interested in the next panel. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye.